Okay, we are off and running. We'll start with the kind of boring stuff as people are piling into the room, the stuff that people already know because you've been on Zooms and you've probably been on Zoom webinars and you know the buttons, but the person at the top tells you about the buttons anyways, because that's what we do. My name's Adam. I'm gonna be the host today. I will get on to the main event here very shortly. I promise you're not gonna hear me talk very much, but if you've got questions, you can ask them in the little Q&A module there. Hopefully it's in the same spot that I'm pointing, but it probably isn't. So it says Q&A. Use that to ask questions. You're welcome to use the chat. I will check the chat as much as possible to look for questions and try to answer. But if it gets lively, I might not be able to keep up on it. Be kind, be respectful, but use the chat, have fun. And then we're going to ask you guys some questions throughout this. We'll launch different poll questions at different times. Hopefully I don't screw up. If you want to start taking bets on whether I screw up or not, do that offline because no gambling is allowed on these webinars. Okay, let's get going. Quickly, a word from our sponsors. We have two of them. Tessellation is the first one. Tessellation is a modern analytics consultancy. We enable and manage organizations' analytics and self-service teams by educating people, optimizing technology, developing world-class products, and providing sustainable results. Second, Data Coach. Data Coach, where most analytics training programs lack depth, Data Coach provides wisdom. Our modern curriculum is unparalleled, comprising video lessons, hands-on exercises, and a capstone project designed around your company's data. Data Coach offers a truly premium service as well, and that's one-on-one coaching. Okay, let's get on with this. We got Jacob Kahn here, and I'm really excited about this because Jacob and I are new to working together, but we've become fast friends because I think we respect each other, which is very cool. Jacob is brilliant, but let's get into detail. What is he? Jacob is currently a consultant at Tessellation, where he drives the development of data processing and automation solutions. He has a wealth of knowledge in tax and audit consulting and brings a strong dexterity in Alteryx to the table. While working at one of the largest public accounting firms, Jacob found himself fascinated with improving workflows, optimizing automations, and mastering Alteryx. His natural gift for building intuitive workflows led him to win the 2020 Alteryx Excellence Award. That is awesome. I'm going to say it again. Jacob won the 2020 Alteryx Excellence Award. And as an active contributor to the Alteryx community, Jacob is an Alteryx certified partner and proudly leads the New York City Alteryx user group, biggest city in the world. Well, maybe not the biggest city in the world, but maybe the best one. To follow his data analytics journey, you can also connect with him on Twitter or follow him on LinkedIn. Jacob, I turn it over to you, man. Let's do this.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Yeah, don't worry. I put my my Twitter handle and my LinkedIn profile in this presentation. So hello, everyone. Thanks for attending today's webinar. I'm going to be actually presenting today via Zoom using Power BI. If you haven't seen that before, that's because we're being innovative and analytical over here. And I'm going to go straight and jump into it. So first, again, as Adam said, I was going to give a little bit of background into what we're talking about today. So I thought first we'd go over some of the goals and prompts that we're hoping to achieve, hoping to talk through. I want to make sure that everything you signed up for is actually covered. I'll tell you a little story about me. We'll go through some of these topics, starting with data analytics. I'm going to give you a little key secret of what I think is the key to building a successful portfolio, where to start your portfolio, getting involved in the community that you're working in. How can we win some awards? Let's find time in our current environment to work on our analytic portfolio, and where is the data that we're going to be analyzing? So with that, I'm going to go straight into it and tell you a little bit more about me. So as Adam was so kindly able to start, my name is Jacob. I've been at Tessellation as a consultant. I started my career in public accounting, but that quickly faded. Not quick enough, but it was going well. Got into analytics, and that's where I'm taking my life at the moment. Again, LinkedIn, Twitter, Alteryx community, etc., etc. Oh, you can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Messenger, AOL, and Slack, and pretty much anything else that you might have on your cell phone. So please make sure you connect. Okay. Here are some of the topics that we're promising that we're going to cover today. So where to learn data analytics online and earn certifications, my key to an analytic passion, how to start a data analytics project from scratch, how to submit your projects to win awards, how to find time during your current job to work on data analytics, and where to find data sets for your projects. All this sounds like a lot. We're going to remind you each topic we get to what we're actually talking about. And I'm going to try to have fun, keep the conversation engaging. And to do that, I'm going to ask that you please use the chat. Feel free. I'm always one of those people who like attacks the chat box. Please ask questions as the webinar continues on. And please react. So one of my favorite hashtags is It's Analytics Yo. So if you enjoyed this webinar after our 1 hour session, make sure you go out on Twitter or LinkedIn and tell the community what you thought, what you took out, or maybe just tell me like, dude, I fell asleep. Okay, so whatever goes, we'll make fun of and the best of today. So to start off with this, I'm just going to go into exactly a quick definition of what a portfolio might be, or at least what I think of a portfolio, nothing that we'll get on the internet. So really the portfolio that we're going to be talking about today is anything you want to show off that kind of describes your analytic journey, or maybe some type of skill up in your analytic process, your analytic learning, et cetera, et cetera. As well, your portfolio can actually become a reference or resource for you to like kind of go back to every time you have a project and you don't remember how to do XYZ, but you've done that before. So you go back to your portfolio and you pull it out. And for those very special interview questions, I know on my interview for my dream job, I was asked to explain the 3 different types of macros in Alteryx and then give an example of when you might use each type of macro. The only way I knew I was able to answer that question was because I had all that in my analytic portfolio. So that's what a portfolio is, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So with that, I'm going to ask Adam to push poll question number 1.
All right, here we go. My first chance to screw up.
Okay, what are you passionate about in data analytics? Is it data processing using Alteryx, using Python to kind of cleanse your data? Is it data integrity, data security? Are you like looking to create some data, or are you into the data visualization world? I'm not going to give away my answer, but I think by the end of this conversation, you'll know where I'm headed.
All right, here come the results.
Okay, so it looks like everyone is into data visualization. Amazing. So I think data visualization is an awesome place to start with your portfolio because it's an actual physical asset that you walk out of. Number 2, data processing. That's me. So we're going to go quickly to another poll just to keep y'all engaged. And this is going to be poll question number 2, Adam, please.
Here we go.
And that poll is going to ask if you were to rate your passion for data analytics on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put it? 1 being, I know I need to get involved, but it's okay. And 10 being like, I'm always in the data. There's no more Netflix, there's no more dates, there's no more friends. It's just about data. Here, I won't give you my response. Okay.
Oops, sorry, I was on mute. We still got some people voting. I'm going to end it in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so we got a lot of 8s. We got a few 10s. That's pretty impressive. We got 1s. Okay, we're going to help you over there. And we got no 2s. Okay, we're pretty good. I think this sounds like a great range of people who are interested, at a passion, and those looking to grow their passion. So with that, we're going to go to the first topic, which is where to learn data analytics online and earn certifications. This is like the epitome and the start of how we're going to build a professional analytic portfolio. And with that, I'm going to go a little bit into my story. And I hope that, you relate to my story and my experience. And secondly, I hope that my story inspires you a little more in your analytic journey and kind of helps you build this passion to really get your analytic portfolio going really quickly. I also hope that you take some of the tools we discussed today and you run with it, you Google them, you sign up, you log in, and you're good to go. And lastly, this story is pretty personal. So of course, you can always feel free to reach out to me on all of the platforms I already mentioned before to discuss anything, ask questions, continue the conversation. Okay, actually, we're not going to go there yet. So my passion is data analytics. Definitely, in order for us to begin the conversation of creating a portfolio, the number one thing that I believe everyone has to have is a passion. You need to make sure that you have the passion that's going to actually allow you to invest a critical amount of time into your portfolio. This is not something that's going to happen overnight, and you want to make sure you are covered through all the potholes, traffic, accidents you're going to go through to create your data analytics portfolio. So how did I get involved in data analytics? I got involved with just a quick 2-day course in Alteryx at my first job. I studied to be an accountant. My assignments were pretty boring and pretty repetitive, and there was not much actual thinking involved. There was this hype around innovation going on in the firm, and there were actually some great people that I was talking to at the time at Alteryx, and specifically my instructor. I'll just give a shout out, Maureen Wolfson. You're awesome. And she's kind of like, the reason I'm into Alteryx today. And Alteryx was perfect for me because I didn't have any coding experience, and it was like a great way to get into the door of data analytics. The majority of the people walking out of the training that I had attended were actually saying Alteryx is fantastic, but it's not going to apply to our work. That was pretty sad for me, as I just spent 2 hours and I was like, oh, this seems pretty cool, but no, because I'm the newbie and everyone's saying it's not going to work, I'm probably going to conclude it's not going to work either. I'm also going to put out a little note that anything I bring into this conversation regarding Alteryx generally will also apply to any other tools that you're using, whether you're coding as a complete data scientist or you're visualizing data in Power BI or Tableau, et cetera, et cetera. The data is everywhere. The data touches everything. So this entire story might revolve around Alteryx. We'll touch Power BI, but again, it can be applied to pretty much anything you work in today. So when I first got into data analytics, I saw that there was this awesome opportunity to become a leader in this data analytics group or department at a very early stage of my career. I was only working at this company for about 2 to 3 months. As I said, I wasn't so excited about my job. And there was this huge gap between, data analytics and this analytic department and this subject matter experts, our CPAs and accountants. Everyone was telling me, whoa, innovation needs to happen. But it kind of contradicted the fact that there was not much interest from my managers to actually invest some time in building out some projects, ultimately building out my analytic portfolio. And I was kind of like at a standstill. I'm never going to be able to expand my career in data analytics because I can't build my portfolio because I can't get time approved, et cetera, et cetera. You know the story. I'm sure some of you are there. And this was all my inspiration to starting my analytic portfolio. This is what got me going to opening up my computer every day on the train and going straight into Alteryx, Power BI, Google, GitHub, you have it, you name it. Passion is key. So with that, do we have any questions?
We had one come in, but they said maybe it'd be addressed at the end. So we'll hold on that one for now.
Okay, awesome. So Adam, if we may push poll question number 3, just let's keep this activity going on in the conversation. Do you relate to my story? Yes, it's pretty much a mirror image. No, but that sounds fun. And I'm dying for something like that.
All
Let's
right.
see what we get.
Still some votes coming in. I'm going to close it in 3, 2, 1. There you go.
Yay. I'm so happy to see that so many people relate to this. So hopefully you're here to learn how to build this entire portfolio, and you'll be able to pretty much mimic everything that we discussed today. No, but sounds fun. Okay, don't worry. You're not missing out on too much. And I want that. Yeah, like I said, you're not missing out on too much, but you win some, you lose some. Okay, and now we're ready for the next poll, if that's okay, Adam.
You bet. Keeping me on my toes. Here we go.
Sorry.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it, man.
Awesome, awesome.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so have you heard of Alteryx? So here are some responses I'm hoping to get. Yes, I'm a pro. Yes, I've used it before. No, can you tell me more? And please, can we stop talking about self-service analytics already? Like, let's just get to the Python and the coding. So I'd like to see what y'all have to give us.
All right. Votes pouring in. I'm going to close it in 3, 2, 1. And there are your results.
No, tell me more. Okay, I guess I'm a little surprised about that because I'm guessing, most of y'all are probably data visualization experts. So Alteryx is this tool that we're not actually gonna be delving in today, but basically I'll just quickly describe it as it's kind of like this tool that performs a whole wide range of functionality, so many uses in it. but I will quickly define it as a tool that's used to extract, transfer, load data. And I know most Alteryx users do not like using that definition. So basically, it's a place for you to take some data, cleanse it, prep it, blend it, maneuver it, manipulate it, do whatever you got to do to your data, and automate that process, and then shoot it out to whatever function you need in your business. So that's a quick introduction to Alteryx. But with that said, I'm going to go a little bit into the start of basically where I'm coming from, where I'm going with Alteryx and my data analytics portfolio. So today it's pretty easy to lose inspiration. I know as a millennial that quickly I see something, I want it, and then I forget about it within 24 hours and my inspiration is dead. I say I'm going to read that book. I open the first chapter. Oh, I got to get a Diet Coke. TV doesn't happen. Doesn't last very long. So the first thing I'd suggest if you're trying to get into the analytics, trying to build that passion for your portfolio, is get some training. A lot of people say to you in this, coaching of getting to data analytics, it's not all about the training, it's about your portfolio. But to get that portfolio, you need to have your training. So for example, I attended an Alteryx 2-day training, followed by some investment that I put into learning more about Alteryx on their community. As well, I became addicted to Udemy. I know there are many people who pronounce it in a wide variety of ways, but kind of signed up for a lot of their courses and had 1097, transactions on my credit card for a few months going straight. Okay. With that said, I quickly got some certifications, and the certifications were awesome because people didn't really care about this whole Alteryx nonsense and the trainings and the Power BI and the analytics. But when I was able to put a certification next to my name that my manager or boss can put on a proposal, that's when there was some attention coming. So, like I said, one of my biggest problems I faced in building a portfolio was my managers were not interested in the data analytics on the day-to-day to begin with. So I didn't really have any use cases to go with. Therefore, I didn't really have any assignments with data analytics. And therefore, I didn't really have a portfolio. I got my certification and everyone's like, wait. Like, this is official. We better bank on this. So great way to continue, building that passion and building that journey up to your portfolio. But like I said, this is only one step to how I created my portfolio and how I suggest you going. The last thing I'd like to tell you about from our sponsor is the awesome Data Coach. So if I had Data Coach, probably Udemy wouldn't have all of my credit card information at the time being. But if I had had Data Coach, I would have been addicted to it, because one of the things that I love about Data Coach, and Data Coach is a platform I use to get involved in Power BI, is that it's actually a read platform. So you open Data Coach and you read about the product you're using with visuals and graphics and GIFs. And there are actually a few videos going on, but it was a much better environment for me to learn in, especially now that, we're all at home and there's so many distractions. Quickly, I play a video and it's on YouTube and I lose attention. My email opens up, but when you're on a platform that has kind of like a read environment, I picked up Power BI so quickly and built my portfolio thanks to Data Coach's capstone project system, which was basically a requirement that in order to get your certification from Data Coach that you are Power BI certified, you actually have to submit a capstone. And let me tell you, my capstone, all my capstone projects became the epitome of my Power BI portfolio today. They kind of give you there's not really a prompt, there's not really some data. So it requires you to go in and delve into the internet, find your data, find your use case, see what you can do with it. And the last but not least, the best part about that Data Coach platform is that I was assigned a one-on-one coach. So if I didn't know where to start, I said to you, my portfolio needs to grow. I just reach out to my coach and be like, can you give me some advice? And some of those conversations really gave me a lot of inspiration. So with that, I'll just conclude one more time that, I use Data Coach for Power BI, but there's just so much out there on the Data Coach platform for us to reference going forward. I'm going to ask Adam for poll question number 5.
Here we go.
Have you heard of Data Coach? So like I said, I'm all about Data Coach this, Data Coach that. I just gave some reasons of why I'm all about the Data Coach. So tell me, have you heard about it? I'm thinking about it. Sounds familiar. Can you provide more info? Tell me more. Thank you. Next. Just like everything else. That thank you next. I hope you get that song reference.
I get it because I'm that age group. Just kidding. But I still get it. All right, we're going to close this in 3, 2, 1. And there are your results, Jacob.
No, tell me more. Okay, well then I probably should have asked this poll before this whole conversation, but definitely watch out for that email following today's webinar, and check out datacoach.com and check out what they have to offer for all you Tableau users, Python visualization coders, and Power BI wannabes. So with that, I'm gonna go and give you a little bit of the key of my key to growing this passion that allowed me to expand my analytic portfolio. And what was that key? It really stemmed from this one trip I made to the New York Stock Exchange for a conference, like it was kind of like an analytic conference. And basically I was speaking to one of the advisors, or yeah, I think he was an advisor. He was at Alteryx, and I'd said, there's so many tools out there. There's Tableau, there's Power BI, there's Python, there's C#, there's everything you can imagine, everything that exists. Where do I start? I'm like this newbie wannabe data scientist. I want to build my portfolio. And this individual said to me that the key to your portfolio development and your development as a data scientist to begin with is to learn to solve any problem using the tool of your choice. So what that means to say is that if I chose Alteryx to be my tool, or Tableau, or Power BI, I needed to find a way to solve any problem that came on my desk or that I was faced with in that tool. And that problem solving skill that I had gained from that piece of advice was able to allow me to answer any question that I faced on any interview that I was on, because there was always a question or a problem that I had experienced. I knew exactly how to attack it because I focused it in my specific tool that I became a master of. And right when that would happen, that problem became a piece of my portfolio. So like I said, this would be my key suggestion to you starting your portfolio. And again, we didn't get to where to start from scratch. We're just talking about, that piece of passion and how to learn and get into data science. But my key is to tell myself that I'm going to solve any single problem I face in my one tool of choice. And for me, going forward, that was Alteryx. And like I said, that was really like my key to being able to expand my portfolio. And like I said at the beginning of this talk, when I say portfolio, I mean your book of reference for your day-to-day jobs that you need. I mean what you're going to show off on your LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, all the above. And I mean that portfolio that's going to be discussed and referenced on your next interview. Okay, do we have any questions, or we're good to continue?
Well, you know what? Let's take this one. One came in here. What certifications do you recommend?
Okay, awesome. So obviously, I'm going to go with, not obviously, because or else the question would have been asked. So I'll say that I asked the same questions, just like I asked the questions of which tool do I use, which certifications are creditable. So obviously I came up with this little dilemma in my head, because I'm studying for the CPA at the same time of getting some of these certifications. So just like I need to get that CPA coming from, the AI CPA, I would say that the best step is to get that certification coming from either a partner of the platform you're using or the platform itself. So for example, you might have a self-service tool that doesn't necessarily, offer some certification, but you have a partner like Data Coach who offers a certification, offers a tag. That would be kind of like where my direction would be to go to. For me, my first step was going to Alteryx and then going to something like Data Coach and getting those tags. And the reason why I would say don't stop at that first software company, don't stop at Microsoft, don't stop at Tableau, don't stop at Alteryx, is because there's so many different certifications out there. And if you can find a website, and for me, it was Data Coach, that allows you to kind of put an actual link to a certification on your profile, I'd say that is the most important place to start. So you're looking for those courses online that give you that badge, give you that recognition, give you that kind of standardized look that a whole wider range of users are actually presenting as well. So I hope that answers your question, and let us know if it doesn't. Okay. With that, I'm going to continue the conversation into point number 2, how to start a data analytics portfolio from scratch. So with this, I'm going to go into just breaking it up into 2, like let's just build a tree. So we're starting with this one question, and I'll say that there's going to be 2 different types of assets. Asset number 1 in your portfolio will be use cases that you've developed through your day-to-day tasks, your day-to-day job. And asset number 2 really kind of taps into asset number 1. It's probably like a sub account for all my accountants out there. But I'm going to call that personal projects. So again, your boss asks you something to do, you figured out that problem, you solve the issue, you have figured out, you built this dashboard in your portfolio. A personal project might be something else. So we're going to talk mostly about personal projects. I'm going to expand about that. That's why I gave you that quick explanation of what I mean by the use cases from your daily job. Okay, going forward. When I first started getting to data analytics, all of my projects in my portfolio had to be these personal projects because I was in the organization and the team I was on, there was no projects going on at the time. Nobody was asking me for a dashboard. Nobody was asking me to query some type of data set. Nobody was asking me to pivot, et cetera, et cetera. As well, there was barely a budget and all my time had to go to chargeable work. So I really only had personal projects to actually start with in my portfolio. I'm going to go through a quick story about my, I don't want this to just be about my stories and myself. You're supposed to take away about this whole idea of creating your portfolio, but hopefully this will give you, again, inspiration and relationships and maybe some ideas of how you're going to get your portfolio growth. So my first project, I'm going to list as a personal project, but I said it kind of crosses into the daily use case of like something I do at work because I was assigned this task. It was kind of like a tax project for any of my accountants out there. And I was bucketing trading lots or trading reports for tax purposes. So pretty much there was like 40 million rows of data and each row of data had to be considered over some type of formula to decide how it's going to be taxed. And I was like, no way, like I'm going to be sitting in Excel for the next, I don't know, like 3-4 weeks, just clicking, copying, pasting, trying to problem solve. Like I wasn't so interested. And I had just gotten this Alteryx training. I was still on this Alteryx trial license, or, you think about it on your Tableau trial license or Power BI, 14 days, you got to get something that's good. And with just that trial license and kind of my little knowledge, I stayed at work that night till like 2 a.m. and built up the entire process I had learned in the team training. And ultimately, again, this saved 2,500 hours. So it was a personal project of mine that I just pretty much parallel built from an assignment I was given at work. Didn't tell anyone, not because I was hiding it, but because there was no interest in it. Just was like, oh, I just learned this. Let me see if it can apply. And that project ended up exploding into saving 2,500 hours. There was no support. There was no budget. There was no time. There was no interest from anyone. It was just a parallel build out and some of my personal investment that came from that passion that we discussed. But at the end, nobody was turning away those 2,500 hours that were saved. But I had this huge project that exploded into an application that nobody even had to go into the program. They could just do it from their browser. Was now like the major project and the only project at the time in my portfolio. So with that, I'm just going to conclude that I'm hoping that you kind of understand the message here, which is to take a process, take something you're asked to do, take something a lot of people do, parallel build it out. Don't necessarily have to tell everyone about it. It might not even be accepted, but you have that now in your portfolio.
Jacob, we did have a question come in that I think feels right now, and you kind of maybe just answered it. The question is, how big or complex does the first projects in the portfolio have to be?
Okay, well, I think this answer can be split into two, and I'm gonna first preface that this answer most likely will be focused on the person who's using self-service analytic tools, and I'll say that the actual size of your project doesn't necessarily matter whatsoever. In my example, I said 40 million rows of data. But if it was 12 rows of data and the process that was performed, let's say 15 times a day by 3 people daily, so that's their entire job, I would say that the project might be pretty small, but the actual reward and the benefit from it is pretty large. So I wouldn't necessarily judge it, let's say, on the actual size of the project, but rather the output, the results. And we're going to get there in a little bit, but ultimately the process it took you to get there. And that is, what problems did I have to solve? What problems did I solve? And that's going to be the focus, not necessarily the size of your project, but what problem did I solve? So I hope that answered the question. The reason why I preface that this is for self-service analytics is because there are different goals and accomplishments, your average coder might be looking to achieve. So, they might, have this looking for some complex code on GitHub. I'm sure it's something similar to the answer I gave, but I would personally say that looking for that project, not in size, but in problem solving value would be key to your portfolio. I would say if I were to just relate that back to the example I just gave, I would say that, there was not, the problem was time. And the problem was that, you had all the staff working a month on this one process. That was the big problem. The problem itself wasn't that it was a big data. The problem is he had all the staff doing repetitive tasks. So trying to find, explaining that problem and identifying that problem is what's going to make up your portfolio. So again, I hope that answered your question. I hope you take away some type of advice from that. If not, just let us know and we'll try again. So I kind of told you about that 2,500-hour project first thing. I'll tell you about another story that just quick, just to give you another idea that this wasn't actually a specific assignment, but basically this was the way I won this Alteryx Excellence Award. So basically it was in predictive analysis. And I had noted that every single day in my job, I was using PDFs. I'll actually just go to the next dashboard. I noticed that I was using PDFs pretty much every single day. And I was just copying and pasting some of the values in PDFs into an Excel, maybe built a pivot table, maybe shared it in an email, maybe built a pie chart, et cetera, et cetera. But I saw that it was manual, was taking a lot of time. Again, this was not a specific process that I was being asked to innovate because, again, there was no conversations about, oh, Jacob's our data guy, he's going to do it for us. This was just, I said to myself, I'm going to stay at work every night for 1 hour and try to figure out here's my issue. My issue is that I'm just manually copying data. It's pretty much a waste of time. My issue is I want to figure out a way that I can automate that process. Again, for our data visualization folks out there, that might not be exactly what you're looking for. You might be looking to deliver some type of final result in an effective and efficient way. But in my case, it was pretty much trying to eliminate some type of manual process. And actually, for those visualization experts out there, that that's included in your jobs as well. So you don't have to go into that Excel and, build your tables, bar charts, pie charts, scatter plots, et cetera, et cetera. But again, in my PDF example, I had no budget, no time, no interest, no support. All I had was this passion to build my portfolio. And like I said, I stayed an hour after work. For me, it was a little easy because I'm like, at the time I was like 25, I was single and I have no kids. So that made it pretty easy. But again, a little bit of investment. And that went a long way into me being able to submit that on the Alteryx community for their award. So number 2 point I'd like to talk about how to submit your projects to award competitions is when you get this passion for data analytics and you start using Tableau, Power BI, Alteryx, Python, get involved in a community. You can look on Meetup. You can get involved on probably the software site itself. You can look on Twitter, LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. Find a community because that's where you're going to find these little niche competitions going on. And these are areas where people will actually appreciate that use case that you built, that you say you want to include in your portfolio, that your manager kind of like, they kind of threw it over their shoulder because they don't really care. But this is a great way. This is a great place to take that project, take that portfolio asset and put it into a competition, put it into an environment that it's appreciated in. So with that, I'll just quickly recap everything I just said for this point, for this competition part that we promised we discuss, which is, again, you want to get involved in that community, look for those niche areas, and this will help you find a place where your work is valued, where you'll receive feedback from your submissions in your portfolio. If you don't know if this is big data enough or if it solves big enough problems, get involved in your community, see what other people are doing it, and then compare it to what you're putting in your portfolio. I'm going to say this is the last thing that I have to say about this topic, which is to document everything you do. As a consultant, sometimes I feel like having a conversation and walking away is not necessarily as rewarding as I'd like it to be. Sometimes when you're, I'm going to say, if I was like, let's say a Lego builder as my profession, I'd walk away with a finished product. Sometimes actually using Alteryx, I don't necessarily feel as rewarded as I'd like to. Or sometimes when I'm building a Power BI visualization, I don't feel as rewarded as I'd like to. When I document everything, I become the author of that entire project, from initiation, the purpose of the project, the problems faced in the project, the risks I assumed would actually come up during the project, the solutions, and the end goal. If you can document all that information, that is the asset in your portfolio, because it's not about that actual beautiful visualization at the end of the day. It's the problems you solved, what you did to get there. And ultimately that document is going to house all that information for your portfolio. Lastly, that becomes your submission to all of what I'm saying in the communities for any type of competitions that come up. That's what happened to me. Somebody reached out, said, oh, you got to get into this competition. I had already drafted this entire, like, pretty much blog post in my own notes and shared it right on the community. And that's how I won the award. So there's a lot of benefits of kind of, keeping that asset to yourself. Any questions at this moment?
There were a few,
Hey.
and if I might, I'd like to ask this one because I think maybe other people are thinking about it. What about folks who are unemployed, Jacob? Are there things that they can be doing to build an impressive portfolio when they don't have the real work experience or the real work experience as far as in front of them right now?
Yeah, so for anyone who's unemployed and looking for a job, firstly, I'd say, of course, good luck. You should have all the blessings in the world to get exactly what you're looking for. I would say that I'm not going to compare my situation to that whatsoever, because I'm very thankful that I went from, working in public accounting straight to going into consulting in both Alteryx and Power BI. But when I was in public accounting, to an extent, sometimes I was like kind of so dreadful of my workday because I wasn't passionate about it, that in a way I had that sense of like, I'm not going to say unemployment, but I was in the same boat in that, my day-to-day did not offer me opportunities to create some type of asset that I can put in my portfolio. And then you might argue back to me, well, you just said you paralleled that business. And it wasn't always like that. So what I'd say was, accessing something like Data Coach and making that little investment to get what I needed to do. Investing in, let's say at the time, Data Coach wasn't for me an investment in, learning the actual tool. It also came with that capstone project at the end. So that little investment gave me that actual reward at the end. A lot of times courses online, which I think might be the biggest failure of my first steps in getting into innovation and data analytics, was I was just taking these Udemy courses one after the other, and I would have some type of small Power BI dashboard or Alteryx workflow to present that the speaker would demonstrate to us, but I didn't really have anything to walk through. At the very end of this conversation, I'll go through a little bit of the actual platforms I used to build out my portfolio to begin with, but I will just give you a little bit of a hint to that. And I actually started with using some data that I was collecting by myself. So again, just to recalculate where I am now versus where the question was what I do if I'm unemployed, I don't have this day to day. I responded that I felt something similar, although I told you a story that I was building at parallel work. In those situations that I didn't have that parallel work, I went to an online platform that allowed me a capstone project to be the ultimate goal of what I was doing, not necessarily just following along. And number two, and the last point I'm going to make, and I'm going to talk about this towards the very end of our conversation today, is I actually started building out some type of use cases using my own data. So that was coming actually directly from my Galaxy Watch, which I'll tell you a little bit later. So again, I hope I'm not leaving you stranded, Adam. Tell me how you feel about that response.
No, I think that was good, and it's always a tricky thing, right?
Yeah.
But someone did ask if Data Coach was affordable. It is. You only pay while you're actively learning, and then you can sort of stay on it when you're not actively learning for a very reduced price as a part of the community. So I think you're right. Seeking out ways outside of just your current work experience that you're on right now is the way to go. So I think it was a well thought out answer.
Awesome. I'm thinking before I go on, because it was such a deep question, I'm just going to think if there's anything else I wanted to touch on that. But like I said, we're going to talk at the very end of a few other resources that y'all can reference for, some great data places. I'll give you a little quick idea of, something that I've been doing recently using places like CNN and Fox. And I hope that leaves anyone in that situation with some type of positive feeling that they're going to walk out of this webinar feeling inspired to build your portfolio for your next interview. But lastly, I will also just remind that this conversation, although we do have some webinars coming up that really focus on getting that job, this conversation is really about getting that portfolio. So I hope that answer was suffice. Adam, is it possible we can pull question number 6?
It's not only possible, Jacob. I'm going to make it a reality right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, did I lose you? Yes, I need to get some lunch. I'm starving. Yes, too many emails are coming in. No, keep going. I'm loving it. And no, but I'm not getting the point of what you're talking about. So I just love it for this, so that maybe I need to talk slower. Maybe my
I'm
question.
seeing the answers come in, Jacob, and I'm going to tell you that that you're going to like the results. All
Okay,
right,
I did. Yeah,
3,
I need some lunch too. So like,
2, 1. Jacob, they're loving it.
Woo!
They're
Okay,
loving
thank
it.
you. Yeah.
They're
Okay,
loving it.
good. Okay, so we'll continue. So the next topic we're going to go to is how to find time during your current job to work on data analytics. Okay, so like I said, at the time that I was getting involved, I was like single, didn't have, I don't have any children. It was pretty easy for me to do it. But actually, I respond that during my day-to-day was the time that I actually learned to use data analytics, even though my time was pretty busy, even though I said all that, pretty much in the day, I still had to, charge 40 to 60 hours a week of chargeable time. So what I would suggest is that pretty much you just open your eyes a little bit more to the processes going on in your day-to-day business. So at my point, there was nobody asking me to automate a process. I was just looking at what I was being asked to do, what my colleagues were being asked to do, what my managers were doing. And these were all things that nobody, again, asked me to automate, but I saw them as an opportunity for some type of asset I can create for my portfolio. And two things happened when I took this approach. Number one, I put in all this effort and I built this asset and I documented it and I said, this is in my portfolio. It's not like I actually had a big file. It's rather, I just had this drive that had 3 terabytes on it. And I literally was only using like probably 400 megabytes. But that was my portfolio. But either your manager ignores you because they're just like, I didn't ask you to do this, so it is what it is. And then I take that to the community and that's where I win. Or you become a winner and your manager is like, whoa, I love you. Here's a vacation. Here's a bonus. Here's a promotion, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden you have this, I'm trying to think of the right word to use, but you have this opportunity to explode your portfolio because once you made that little investment in some type of data analytics project, you saw the results and the benefits, everybody's going to want to take a piece. I know that recently I was working with a client where, he gives a little bit of visualizations to his stakeholders and all of a sudden their minds explode at different things they want to see in those visualizations. Well, every single one of those things that this guy is getting from his stakeholders, he's winning and ultimately expanding his portfolio to just be never ending. He'll face all the different problems that he'll be asked to talk about in an interview. And I just think that that is going to be my best suggestion to you, is to actually just look at the day-to-day of what's going on and try to say, I'm going to build this parallel. I'm going to make that investment after work. I'm going to take on my computer. I was taking the LIRR every day because I'm a New Yorker. And sometimes I would even hold my computer because I had to stand because those New York trains used to get packed. And no, there was no Wi-Fi. So everything had to be downloaded. We in New York still don't have Wi-Fi on our trains. Not that that's hating on New York, but anyways, okay, let's stay on topic. So last poll question I'd like to push right now.
All right, here we go.
Okay, has your analytical work gone unrecognized? Do you relate to what I'm saying, that perhaps your managers have yet to kind of take any initiation towards what you're doing? Or do you find that you're actually being valued pretty fairly? And again, this doesn't really have much to do with the conversation, but I think that it just opens your eyes to my point of if you can find that recognition, you can show those results, your path of your portfolio is just so expansive because of all the other ideas you're going to get from other people, not using the tools and solutioning the way you are. So with that.
All right, we'll close it in 3, 2, 1. And there you go, Jacob.
Okay, so yes, sad face emoji. Okay, 37%, no, unfairly valued. Okay, so this point will mainly be to encourage and keep those people who are, feeling that they're unrecognized, motivated to keep on going. And the reason why, again, I bring this topic into this conversation of building your portfolio is because, again, when you're out there performing any type of function or science in data analytics, it's not about that recognition you're getting at the end of the day from your manager, from your team, from your spouse or from your grandparents, whatever it is. It's all about the process you went through to solve the problem you saw and ultimately find a solution for yourself. That entire process is what is in your portfolio, not the visualization at the end of the day, but the process of how you got there. When I first had my interview and the question was, explain to me the 3 different types of Alteryx macros, the question wasn't open up what we call an Alteryx workflow and show them to me. The question was, tell me 3 instances, 3 problems that you had to solve using each type of macro. So again, the focus in this point of the conversation of, talking about recognition and doing it during your day-to-day is not about, it is a little bit about getting that recognition so you can explode your portfolio with other people's ideas, but also about that process that you're going to be including at the end of the day in your portfolio. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to just try to make one reminder of that key that you learned how to solve every problem already that you've ever faced in your one single tool. And again, that problem is going to be the meat and potatoes of your portfolio. Again, not those visualizations at the end. And, please feel free to disagree. Like I said, using that hashtag, maybe writing some type of comment in the blog post released on Teslation's website after this. But again, the focus in your portfolio is the process and the problem that you solved more than the visualization at the end of the day. I mean, if you're a marketer or you're a design expert, I would imagine that you want your portfolio to look pretty beautiful. As a data scientist, I have yet to see some code, unless it comes out of like Power BI DAX, looking so gorgeous. Okay, do we have any questions before we go to the last point of today's webinar?
We do, but I'm going to save them to the end.
Okay, awesome. So the last thing that I'm sure everyone is where to go and find data sets for your projects. So one of the biggest challenges I had actually in the second data coach training that I took was I didn't know what to do with my data. The first data set I actually took from my personal data. So let's start with there before I go into the bed of like, oh my God, where do I start? So I collect data in like a multitude of ways. I have a Weight Watchers scale. I don't remember how much that cost, but when I actually started using it, I was like, okay, whatever it did, pretty fun. I have my FitnessPal app, which allows me to record my food. I have a Galaxy Watch, which allows me to record my steps. And I use an app called Simple Workout Log to pretty much log all my workouts. And all of a sudden I was like, wait, all these applications have ways of exporting the data. And what if I could just see all this information on one dashboard on my phone? Well, that was a crazy use case because all of a sudden I started thinking, wait, what happens if I want to see the percent change over time of how much I'm lifting? Like that is one single problem I'm solving that is now in my analytic portfolio. Is now I can give you a Power BI dashboard with any type of time series data, and I can give you the percent change as time goes on in what I'm doing. So first, I would say find data in the data that you're actually creating, the data that you have in your day-to-day life. Most of us who shop on Amazon can probably export all of our transactions. Get onto your credit card, export your transactions. I actually was doing some research on mint.com. They don't allow you to export your transactions, so don't go there. But no hate. Okay, and then the second few recommendations I would say is to look in the communities of the software or technology that you're using. Try to see what other people are doing. And I'm not saying a copy and paste into your portfolio is the best way to do it, but either mimic, and while you mimic some of the work that you see online done, you're going to ask certain questions that they haven't done. For example, I recently used something called, this is one of my suggestions I want to bring up, but I use this platform called Workout Wednesday, which basically puts out like a Tableau or Power BI challenge of the week. And they give you some type of prompts to perform, but all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I want to drill through to that to see more information. So all of a sudden they gave me this use case, but now I'm actually building my portfolio even more by asking more questions on what they presented me. So definitely use those resources coming from the communities that you're focused in. Again, if you have that idea that you see, make sure you don't ignore it. Like I said, a lot of times I'll be like having this little sprint of inspiration. And because I'm a millennial and everything moves so fast in my life, I quickly lose it at the speed of a button. Just literally like I'm inspired to get my CPA. Well, let me tell you, it's been a few months. And then my second point I'll do is do some research on CNN and Fox or any other type of news reporting that you do. One of the things I noticed yesterday with the unfortunate news coming out of what happened in Colorado was a lot of the reports coming from the news reports actually said that there's no central sort of data source for anything being reported in this article. And once I went into data.world or or any type of like the .gov data sources, or even sometimes what they call kaggle.com, I was able to find some type of data that even some of these news outlets weren't referencing, but at least I can kind of make a projection or an estimate in my own use case of what I'm reading about in these news articles. So I would definitely say that that would also be a great place to start. And remember, it's not about this, it's not about that dashboard at the end of the day. It's not about what you actually automated. It's about the process you got there. So I don't, I know that some challenges I recently saw were like ice on the Great Lakes. I'm just like, what am I going to do with that? But the challenge of visualizing what I wanted to see about the ice in the Great Lakes, that is what I included in my portfolio, not that actual, screenshot of the visualization at the end of the day. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye to just chatting and see if we have anything to talk about.
Yeah, we got a few questions here. Let's take this one first. How necessary is it to obtain a certification if you already have more than 2 years of experience in data analysis? And two-parter, what's the difference? What difference does it make, if any?
Okay, so I'm probably going to give an answer that you're not going to want to hear, but I'm not a CEO of a company. So basically, I'm not like that. I'm that guy from New York who's just like, oh yeah, like you don't have a college degree, that's fine. If I ran a business, that's the kind of people I want in my firm, not just about, what school you went to, for example. And you can kind of take that idea and apply it down to these certifications that I'm talking about. In my opinion, and I just find it necessary that in today's environment of the multitude of certifications across all the different platforms, like even I think canva.com, where you build some type of marketing materials, has certifications. All these tools that we use for project management has certifications. I do think that the little effort it takes to get these certifications or little expensive costs in today's environment is somewhat necessary. Again, feel free to disagree, but we sometimes have to look at the actual environment. Maybe one day everyone on this phone will be a CEO and be able to plan their own culture for their organization. But I think today the best solution, the best route to go is to probably get that certification, just because I think that's what people are looking for. But again, I'm not the hiring manager of a firm right now, so maybe I'm totally off. That's what I needed.
All right, let's do this question. You said the size of the data portfolio does not matter, but instead how you communicate your problem-solving skills. But is there a level of complexity or standard on how the data visualization should look like?
That's a hard question.
That's a tough one. I know. I was waiting to throw this one at you.
Yeah. Okay. So you're not asking, the question is not about, okay, so I kind of give you a response to the actual size of the data being used in your portfolio, but you're asking more on the actual structure of the visualization.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably two pieces. The first piece I probably already covered with describing that, I want to see in my visualization the percent change over time. That was a complex piece of something I'd like to see in my visualization. However, I'm just going to give a little bit of a quick example that has nothing to do with the actual data you use in your visualization. But as a Power BI user, there is some pretty simple ways of putting an object into a bubble, surrounding it with a border and getting a shadow on. I know from just talking to some of my colleagues who are experts in Tableau, it's not as easy in Tableau. And there's an extensive amount of coding that has to get done to kind of create sometimes the same visualizations that are presented in Power BI. Again, I'm not a hiring manager, I'm not a CEO of a company, but I'd say that that's probably something you'd want to demonstrate, document, and show in those cases that you've been able to accomplish XYZ that can be easily done or not so easily done in the tool that you're using, let's say Tableau, but you were able to accomplish it. So again, if your focus is on like the UAT and their experience with your dashboard, obviously, then that's something you're going to want to include in your portfolio, that you were able to explain this amount of data using only 2 visualizations, or being able to fit 10 visualizations using drill throughs into one dashboard. So I hope that kind of answers your question and kind of just puts you into the direction of where you can take your complex dashboards and include them into your portfolio.
We've had a couple people ask if any of your stuff is available publicly, either your portfolio or projects on maybe GitHub or something.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, okay, so I'm not a GitHub guy because I'm not necessarily the biggest coder, self-service analytics, yo. And basically I'll say that if you check out my LinkedIn, and this is not something to go check out my LinkedIn, but that's where pretty much all my posts are shared. Anything that I've really done that I was really proud of, I would bookmark, or I forgot what LinkedIn calls it in the first section of your thing, your features. As well, thanks to my move into consulting and the dream team that I joined, I've been so inspired by my colleagues to publish my own blog. So I hope that's going to be coming out soon. And again, I'm going to share it on my LinkedIn and Twitter. But I would say, check out my LinkedIn profile, not for the connection, not for the follow, but just to kind of see kind of the posts I've ever shared. And those will take you to some of the articles I've written on the Alteryx community and on Power BI.
Well, anything you want to say to wrap us up? We couldn't get to all the questions. I apologize, but I appreciate the chatting and the questions that you guys did ask. But we are getting close to the top of the hour, and we want to make sure we get everyone onto their day. Jacob, anything you want to end with?
I'll say the questions won't go ignored. We'll try to include them in the blog post that follows this webinar on tessellationtech.io. That's tessellationtech.io. Again, you can find Tessellation on LinkedIn or Ask Tessellation on Twitter.
All right, Jacob, well done. Thank you for everyone for the spirited chat, the questions. Jacob, well done, sir. I really enjoyed it. I hope everyone else did too. Check out our events page on tessellationtech.io or datacoach.com for the next great thing that we do. So everyone have a great day. Take care.